Recording in progress.
Now for today, we're gonna start with the decomposition reaction. Mia, David, the camera's on, please. And Fabiana too. So, in decomposition reaction, remember we have one compound that is going to break down into simpler substances. And we're gonna have different rules. Just like we had with synthesis, okay, that we had 10 rules, we're gonna have rules for decomposition. The first rule that we need to follow is the one for carbonates. How do I know what rule to follow? It's going to depend on the composition of the first compound, okay? So when we talk about carbonates, that means that in my reactant, the ion carbonate is going to be there, okay? So that's how I identify the rule to follow. So it says carbonates, when heated, it decomposes into carbon dioxide and an oxide, okay? Take a look to this. The rule is telling me what is going to be produced. So carbonates will produce or will decompose into carbon dioxide and oxide. This oxide, remember that we can have two kinds of oxides. We can have metal oxide or we can have non-metal oxide. Okay? But the answer that we most likely wanna have are gonna be just metal oxides. Remember this, keep this in mind. Now, it says it decomposes into carbon dioxide and oxide. This is an example. They are giving me calcium carbonate and I need to predict what is going to be formed. Okay? So calcium carbonate, they are giving me calcium carbonate in names. Okay? We need to form the compound. You know, calcium is a metal that has a charge of positive 2. Carbonate is a polyatomic ion that has a charge of negative 2. So the two charges, 2 plus and 2 minus, they are going to be cancelled. And this is what we know as calcium carbonate. Okay? So this calcium carbonate is going to break down into simpler compounds. Okay? These simpler compounds will be, the first one is going to be carbon dioxide. Okay? So carbon dioxide is written as CO2. And then it says it will produce another substance. My second substance that will be produced is an oxide. Okay? The second substance is going to be an oxide. But what oxide is going to be produced? It will depend. Okay? Because in my reactant, I have calcium carbonate. I will take this calcium, okay, and I will form the oxide between calcium and oxygen. So remember, calcium has a charge of 2 plus, and oxygen has a charge of 2 minus. So what is going to happen with the charges is that they are going to be cancelled. Once the charges are cancelled, you don't need to show them. This is the product that is formed. This is the equation that you have above. Okay? So this is how you work with it. Following the rule, producing CO2 and oxide. What oxide depends on the metal that is in the reactant. So calcium oxide it is. Now what we need to do after is just checking if it's balanced. So I'm listing the elements in the suggested order, metals first, non-metals after, oxygen and hydrogen in the last step. And I compare the amounts in each side. I have one calcium in the left, one in the right, One carbon in the left, one in the right, three carbons in the left, and 2 plus 1 equals 3 carbons in the right. As you notice, it is balanced. Since this equation is already balanced, all I need to do is express in my final answer in a box, just like I suggest all the time. Using ruler will be okay. This is exactly what you do with this kind of problems. Now I want you to try this example. Now I want you to try this example, okay? Now you try. What is going to be decomposed if I give you this carbonate? Right now in your notebook, write this one and try to follow the rules for decomposition reaction, okay? Remember, what you have to do first, it's not part of the procedure, but what you do first is you separate the ions. You separate your aluminum from the ion carbonate and you write the charges that they have. Okay? Now, knowing this, you're going to form the products. What is going to be the first product? Do it in your notebook. Once you have the answer, you send it to me in the chat. When you have the answer, you send it to me in the chat. Even without balancing, you can send me the answers without balancing, just to see if you understood what is going to be formed. Once you have the answer, you send it to me in the chat. Okay, so I received not so many replies as I was expecting, but I guess it is what it is. Okay, yes, the answer is good. Most of the answers that I got, they were good. In your case, is is not balanced. I will do it so you can have it with you. Okay, so you can have it with you so you can check if what you did was right, or you are going to see if not only if it's good, also you will see where your mistake is. That is important. The rule says, okay, and I will repeat it. The rule says that it will form carbon dioxide and oxide. So carbon dioxide is CO2, okay? That is a mandatory product. Then it says and an oxide. An oxide is a combination of metal or non-metal with oxide ion. So because here in this problem it is about aluminum, I will take aluminum ion. Aluminum ion that has a charge of positive 3. And I will combine it with oxygen to form the oxide. Oxygen, it has a charge of negative 2. So what I do with the charges, they are crisscrossed. So the 3 from aluminum goes to oxygen, and the 2 from oxygen comes to aluminum. Okay, so I write the charges here in the bottom, and I delete the charges and also the arrows because I don't need the arrows anymore. Okay, so this is the product. This is the product, okay? But then I have to see if it is balanced. To know if it's balanced, I need to compare the amounts of each element. So I list the elements in the suggested order: aluminum first, carbon after, oxygen after, and I compare the amounts. I have 2 aluminums in the left, 2 in the right. I have 3 carbons in the left. I have only 1 carbon in the right. I have 9 oxygens in the left, and I have 2 plus 3, 5 oxygens in the right. So it is not balanced. I need to start balancing. This one is already balanced, so I continue balancing carbon. Because I need to balance carbon, I need to place 3 in front of the carbon. Now my carbon is balanced. But this 3 also changes my oxygen. Now I don't have 5 oxygens anymore. I have 3 times 2, 6, plus 3 oxygens from this other side is gonna give me 9 oxygens in total. And now I see that all the numbers are there. So when this happens, I see that I have my final answer completely balanced. And all I do after is I put my final answer in a box. And there I have it. My answer is over there. It is balanced, so I put a check. Now, these are examples for carbonates. What to do in the case you have carbonates, but there are plenty of more examples. So another kind of compounds that you're going to have as reactants are chlorates. For chlorates, we're going to follow these simple rules. This is rule number 2, okay? Chlorates. In the case of having chlorate, it says that it decomposes into oxygen gas and chloride. As a reminder, oxygen gas is a pure element, and pure elements are written alone, uncombined, and in the case of oxygen, it is a diatomic element. So one mandatory product of these chlorates will always be oxygen alone. And because it is alone, it's always going to have two because it is diatomic. And then it says that it will produce a chloride. Chloride is a combination of two elements where chlorine is one of them. And chlorine, for this kind of combinations, will always mandatorily have a charge of -1. So when you form the chloride, you have to see, okay, you have to see the example. So imagine that we have a combination of barium with chlorate, okay? So it's going to produce O2 mandatorily plus, now I'm going to take the metal from the main compound and I will combine it, which has a charge of 2 plus, and I will combine it with chloride ion. Okay, I crisscross the charges that are different than 1. So this 2 is coming down. I delete the charges above, and that will be my product. Then I have to see if it's balanced. It's not balanced, so all I do after is I just balance it. To balance, I just need to place a 3 over there, and it's going to be balanced. Let's take a look to this other example. They are giving me aluminum chloride, and it says predict the product. In the quiz, this is what I'm going to give you, okay? It could be written in words, or it could be written like this. So I'm going to give you that, but I'm not going to balance it, okay? I'm not going to balance it. So take a look. According to the rule, it says that it decomposes into oxygen gas and chloride. The metal in this example is aluminum, okay? Aluminum is a metal that has a charge 3 plus. So this substance is going to break down into O2 because it is a mandatory product and a chloride. A chloride that is going to be formed between the metal in the reaction, okay, which is aluminum, and the ion chloride. The ion chloride is Cl1 minus. Remember, the charges that are 1, we're going to ignore them, and we're just going to crisscross charges different than 1. In this case, this 3 is going to come below. And the charge of 3 is going to be written down. You delete it from the above part, and this is going to be the product. Okay? So, aluminum chloride, sorry, is going to produce O2 and aluminum chloride. This is the reaction. And all you have to do after is balancing the reaction. Okay? You list the elements. Aluminum first, chlorine after, oxygen in the last step. You compare the amounts. You notice it's not balanced. So to balance this equation, because aluminum is already balanced and chlorine is already balanced, I just need to balance oxygen, okay? I have 2, I need 9. So I need to multiply By what number I need to multiply 2 in order to get 9?
4.5.
So I will multiply times 4.5. Okay, this is going to give me 9, but remember, we cannot leave answers with decimal coefficients. Okay, we cannot leave decimal coefficients, so we need to turn this 4.5 into a whole number. To do that,
We're going to multiply the whole equation by 2.
I will multiply all the equation times 2. So remember this, if you don't see it, but it's there, is invisible 1 right here. So everything is going to be 1 times 2 is going to be 2. Aluminum chlorate. Here you will get 4.5 times 2 is going to be 9. O2 plus invisible 1 times 2 is going to give me 2. Aluminum chlorate, and since this is my final answer, I put it in a box and I say that it is balanced. Now I want you to do the same procedure that I did. I followed the rule, okay? But I want you to do the same procedure, but for this example. Do it in your notebook, and once you have the answer, you send it to me in the chat. I will write the answer 20 seconds before the class ends, okay?